On a bright, crisp winter's morning in January of 1968, beneath clear blue skies, an Avro Vulcan bomber, symbolic of Britain's Cold War air power, roared off the runway at RAF Cottesmore. What began as a routine training flight would soon descend into chaos and catastrophe. Just 50 minutes after takeoff, the flight took a tragic and unexpected turn. This is the harrowing and unforgettable story of Avro Vulcan XM604, a compelling tale of extraordinary bravery, heartbreaking tragedy, and miraculous survival against impossible odds. The Avro Vulcan was a jet-powered delta-wing strategic bomber that served as a critical component of the Royal Air Force's strategic deterrence from 1956 until its retirement in 1984. Famous for its distinctive delta-wing design, the Vulcan symbolised Britain's airborne nuclear deterrent capability throughout much of the Cold War era. Designed by the innovative Avro company, the Vulcan quickly gained recognition for its combination of speed, agility, and advanced aerodynamics. The improved Vulcan B2 variant, which began entering RAF service in 1960, featured numerous advancements, including significantly more powerful engines, structurally enhanced wings to support greater payloads and higher altitudes, upgraded electrical and navigational systems, and sophisticated electronic countermeasures designed to evade enemy radar detection. This variant was notably capable of carrying and deploying the nuclear blue steel missile, enhancing its operational flexibility and strategic importance. On January 30th, 1968, under clear and calm winter conditions with a bright blue sky, Vulcan XM604, operated by No. 9 Squadron RAF, was parked on its dispersal area at RAF Cottesmore, Rutland in England, awaiting its crew. The crew for today was pilot Flight Lieutenant Peter Tait, co-pilot Flying Officer Mike Gillett, and rear crew members Flight Lieutenant A.W. Bennett, Flying Officer B.D. Goodman, Flight Lieutenant S.R. Sumpter, and Flying Officer M.J. Whelan. Following the crew in and startup, XM604 was cleared by air traffic to taxi out to runway 22. Flight Lieutenant Tait lined up the Vulcan, applied full power to its Rolls-Royce Olympus engines, and began the takeoff roll. A few seconds later, XM604 took off into the clear sky from RAF Cottesmore for what was expected to be a standard training sortie. Climb out from Cottesmore was normal, and XM604 proceeded to high altitude with nothing out of the ordinary. It was a beautiful day for flying. However, not long into the sortie, the crew noticed a critical malfunction. A heating system intended to protect sensitive equipment in the aircraft's bomb bay was showing signs of overheating. In fact, it wasn't long before it began to overheat dangerously. Recognizing the severity of the situation, the crew quickly assessed their options and made the prudent decision to radio a pan-pan call and abort the mission, instead to return course back to RAF Cottesmore. However, due to the aborted sortie, the Vulcan still had a large fuel load, far too large to carry out a safe landing. So they would have to remain airborne to safely burn off several tons of fuel before attempting a landing. A standard but time-consuming safety precaution in such emergencies. As much as it was a frustration to Tait and his crew that the sortie they had planned had been scrubbed, There was still value to be had by coming into circuit at RAF Cottesmore and doing a series of practice approaches, whilst at the same time burning off their fuel load. After a short while, XM604 was descending and making a standard approach into runway 22 at RAF Cottesmore. As the Vulcan arrived at the airfield, it levelled out at 100 feet, engaged takeoff power, retracted the gear and speed brakes and slowly climbed away to enter the circuit for a second approach. It was thought a few of these to burn off the excess fuel and then get the aircraft on the ground so that 9 Squadron ground crew can fix the avionics heating system. Turning onto final again for runway 22, Tait repeated the same procedures as the first approach. Retract the gear, retract the speed brakes and throttle up and climb out. As XM604 was clearing the far end of the runway, a loud explosion occurred and severe vibration was felt throughout the aircraft. The Vulcan became uncontrollable, rolling sharply to port at an angle of over 90 degrees with a steep 15-degree nose-down angle. Co-pilot Mike Gillett wasted no time and he pulled his black and yellow handle and ejected safely. Tait delayed his own ejection in a desperate attempt to stabilise the aircraft, hoping to give the rear crew, who did not have ejection seats and would therefore have to bail out of the entrance hatch and the floor, a chance to escape. There was to be no chance, however. The explosion had rendered XM604 totally uncontrollable. Realising this, Tait pulled his handle and ejected with only seconds to spare. XM604 impacted the ground in a huge fireball. It had narrowly missed buildings at Cow Close Farm, but left a scene of utter devastation. Tragically, the 4 rear crew members, Flight Lieutenant Bennett, Flying Officer Goodman, Flight Lieutenant Sumter and Flying Officer Whelan, could not escape, and they were killed instantly. Incredibly, when Tait finally ejected at about 300 feet, his parachute only partially deployed due to the extremely low altitude. And as he hurtled towards the ground, the parachute canopy snagged onto high voltage power lines, instantly halting his rapid descent. The nylon material fused to the power lines due to the intense electrical current, effectively acting like an unexpected braking system. Remarkably, this bizarre twist of fate dramatically slowed Tait's fall, allowing him to gently reach the ground and walk away without serious injury. A truly astonishing stroke of fortune amidst the devastating tragedy. The subsequent investigation pieced together the events leading to the tragedy, concluding that a devastating fire had ignited within the No. 2 engine's low-pressure compressor during the second climb-out. This internal fire quickly escalated, causing the compressor to fail catastrophically. The resulting damage caused a turbine disc spinning at 25,000 revolutions per minute to violently separate from the engine housing. This high-velocity disc tore through the aircraft's bomb bay, causing immense structural damage and critically severing crucial hydraulic systems and flight control lines. With vital control mechanisms severed, XM604 was rendered utterly uncontrollable, leaving the crew with no viable means to regain stability, let alone safely pilot the aircraft to emergency landing. The tragic loss of Vulcan XM604 and 4 crew members reminds us of the risks and sacrifices of Cold War aviation. This event highlights not only the vulnerabilities of even the most advanced military technology, but also the extraordinary bravery of aircrews who risk their lives in the service of their country. The legacy of the Vulcan and its crews continues to inspire admiration and respect decades later. Thanks very much for watching. Please take a moment to hit the like button and consider subscribing.